Hi, and welcome to the OrgDev podcast. So, what does it take to scale a company without losing its soul? How can you grow an organization without losing the original ingredients that made it so successful in the first place? Our guest today is Tanya Lopez, and Tanya is VP of Strategic Organizational Development at ReMarkable. Tanya and her team that she's built have played a pivotal role in supporting ReMarkable grow from 120 to 500 employees, shaping its culture and leading its strategic initiatives in organization design, leadership development, and learning strategy. Now, for the uninitiated, ReMarkable is a brilliant piece of innovative technology. It's a digital notebook that helps us move from scribbles to screens, and it's a revolutionary way to take in information and organize it as well. Danny, you are a fully signed up fan of ReMarkable, aren't you?
I'm a fully signed up fan. I use it all of the time. I think behind my phone and my laptop, this would be the next thing on my list that I replace if I lost it or it broke. I adore it.
So this isn't an infomercial, just we love ReMarkable. And we would probably say ReMarkable is one of the key reasons why the actions we capture for our clients are so good. Tanya is based in Oslo, Norway, and before ReMarkable, Tanya gained extensive international experience working in a variety of senior roles. She was senior manager for strategy and consulting for Accenture in Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden. And she's also worked on lots of fascinating projects while being based in Australia. This has included things like leading on implementation of ERP systems, lean processes, merging organizations, and she's even implemented holacracy as part of an organization design. Naturally, her professional experience is underpinned by extensive academic qualifications, including an MBA from the Norwegian School of Economics, and she's also our first ever Lean Six Sigma black belt. And Tanya is a woman of many talents and has even represented a country at basketball. so welcome, Tanya. It's so nice for you to join us on a sunny Friday morning.
Welcome. It's lovely to have you with us. We're very excited to have a chat with you. So just to kick us off, just tell us a bit more about ReMarkable and the work that you do. Garen did a bit of an intro, but just if you can just pad that out and flesh that out for us a bit more.
So I started in ReMarkable in 2020, which was the year that we launched ReMarkable 2, which was the first real product that we wanted to bring out into the market, because the first that was done was more like a test to see, is this something that is of use and is there a market out there? So we kind of created this segment in the market, and there's been a lot of copying after that, but we're very proud of being the first one with this digital notebook. So when I started, we were around 100. We were based in like a villa place in Oslo, and all of a sudden we had to be sent on home offices like everyone else. So in the beginning, my work was a lot to do with just trying to organizing how are we doing this company that's taking off from the launch, and the sales numbers were just really doing well, and the company was growing. How do we manage that from home offices, from a company that's really hands-on, thrives working together, have production in China? So just building up the company as we were flying towards the stars. And then from there, it's been really about understanding what type of company do we want to build? Who are we? We have a really strong foundation in our purpose, in our values. Even before I started in 2020, we had defined values, and we're really living according to our values, which are generous, curious, and dedicated, which is an important one for us to have. And that has really been the core of the work that we have done within the organization development as well, is really ensuring that the way that we built the company on these values and on the purpose of bringing better thinking into the world is really a red thread. It's who we are and who we are proud to be. People join our company because they really believe in our mission of creative better thinking through technology. There's a lot of focus on technology being the evil and the source of the problems that people have with focus and concentration. So we want to be like the balancing point of using technology in a good way and being able to use it in a brain-friendly way. And so I think that has really touched a lot of people, both customers but also employees wanting to come and work for us. So we have people relocating from all over the world to come to Norway and work with us, which is a big honor and makes it really important that the work that we do for our organization and for our people, provides a place where people thrive and grow and develop.
And then organisation development means different things in different organisations. It's something we've been unpacking. What does it look like in practice at ReMarkable? What's the ReMarkable organisation development? What does it look like?
It really took us some time to figure that out. And I came in from like the consultant background going, okay, hey, here's the strategy. This is what we're going to do. And then the capabilities. And then we kind of have a plan. And they were like, well, we have these ideas of where we want to go. We have an overall strategy, but we don't really have that level of detail because things change and pivoting, and we're just working on moving quick in the market. So trying to understand how like the typical, or in my head, like a typical understanding of aligning capabilities and resources and system towards the strategy had to be aligned more with where we are. I had to realize, where is this company, what's going on, and what can we do with the attention and the opportunity that we have. So instead of being more like a strategic alignment, it had to be more on, do we need now? How can we best support? What are the fires that are the hottest at the moment, and which ones are it's burning, but we can roast a marshmallow, but it's not taking down the house. So it was a bit of a painful experience to kind of like, okay, we can't fix everything. As a consultant, you want to come in and just fix everything. But it had to do more on understanding the need of the company at the moment, where they were at. How can we then find bite-size areas to deliver on? So for learning, we would have small lunch trainings so people could spend some time learning, but at the same time feel like they didn't take too much time away from their work. We had to be really clear on what was the value that we're adding in. And because we work in phases, so we do 3 phases a year, planning it so we knew the involvement that it required from people to spend time on working with us to understand what is the career and development framework that we need, how do we work with engagement. So just really creating small pilots and testing it out with a few people. And we have luckily very engaged people in our company who wants to be part of the things that we do to make this organization better. So there's a lot of engagement. So it was just about enabling it in their busy schedule, in a way that they could have their input. We would test it out. We would pilot it out. And this worked, this didn't work. Let's do a retro on it, the next phase, so we can improve it. So I guess that's where the Lean Six Sigma came in for me, with this whole thinking about trying to figure out what is actually the root problem of why things aren't working in a particular area, testing it out and changing it, but being very close to the people who were feeling the pain or didn't have things in place to do their work.
And so you've scaled from like 120 employees to 500. How big's your team? What sort of size team are you working with to support that?
So I have, and I think that's part of the success as well, I have a very competent and diverse team. So I have one service designer who brings in a lot on like design thinking and how to gather information and use that for solutions. I have a process excellence specialist. I have learning and development, a leadership development specialist, and one more person who is more like a PMO and project specialist and very analytical and structured. So we bring in different strengths. So there's 4 in my team, including myself. And then we work very closely with our people advisory team that are out into the different departments and collaborate with us. And we do projects together. So we're getting that reach out into the organization that way.
So Tanya, with something like ReMarkable, it's it's very fast moving, isn't it? Because I remember sort of first seeing ReMarkable when it was trying to build demand. It was like a wait list that was put out saying this new technology is coming. It's coming in X period of time. I can imagine behind the scenes, people are furiously testing it and developing it and all that kind of stuff. So that's really pressure prompted. And then it's just like it's a race against the market to keep innovating. And you're on ReMarkable 2 now, is that right? How does that impact the way of working within the organization, that constant sense of renewal and development?
Yeah, so we actually launched now Paper Pro, which is the last one. So that's our third model, which has color and a lot more of the services that people have been asking for. So it's obviously that's what we're all here to do, is deliver great products. And that obviously is the focus of everyone here, that we know that we still have the lead on the market, but people or companies are catching up, which creates a sense of urgency, but also excitement around what else can we do? Because we know we have lots of great, talented people who can bring new, exciting things into the market. So for us, it's really about enabling our leaders who have grown in the company from the beginning, who have this way of thinking about we're an ambitious company, maybe a little bit un-Norwegian in a way, to have outspoken dreams and big goals. But we've proved we can do it. And I was just talking to someone external that came in yesterday, another Norwegian company, who were proud on our behalf. They were proud to be Norwegian with the success that we had, and that's very exciting to hear that it's not just us, but other people in Norway are proud that we are a Norwegian company being able to do these things. So I think it's for us to be able to provide the opportunity for the people who are really wanting to do amazing things and achieve new goals and create new products, that we are doing everything we can to smooth out the road for them to run as quick as they can, if that means like the changes in the organizational structure so they can work a lot more focused on product development. If it is to support these new leaders who have a lot of expertise but have maybe not been leaders of big teams now that we grow to over 500, how can we make sure that they know how to be good leaders and that their new employees have a great experience coming in, knowing what they have to do, and see themselves be part of this journey for a long time and gain skills they wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. So we're trying to balancing out the practical, just getting people to come in and do their work, with keeping their fire still lit on the purpose, why we're doing this. It's challenging, it's demanding, but it's a lot of fun, and we do have a lot of fun, and we succeed and we achieve things.
As you've grown so quickly, like there's often significant milestones in organization size, like 50 Dunbar's number. That means we have to sort of reorganize. 150 is another size that often organizations start to redesign. When you're at 500, and I'm assuming within that 500, you've got different professions. So you'll have engineers, product engineers, software engineers, different code, all that kind of stuff, all under one roof. Sometimes those sort of professions can be quite tribal, can't they? So how do you bring them together in an integrated way? Because the market doesn't care, does it? It just wants its product.
Yeah. No one cares if you work like in software or supply chain and you have different things you need to do. It's all coming together. And I think that's what's so much fun about working with organization development in ReMarkable, because we have everything under the same roof, besides production in China. But there is difference need in supply chain and software and design. And we're seeing that now that we have grown so much that naturally microcultures are created, which is also how it should be, and we like to use the word microcultures, not subcultures, because that sounds a bit dark, something you would do a little bit hidden. So
subversive, yes.
So we don't discourage microculture. It's more about trying to understand how that fits into the big picture. And now, with the number that we're reaching, as you're saying, there is a need to look at this one ReMarkable and kind of reminding ourselves who we are, why we are working together, particularly now that we have a different organizational structure with functional structure. It's not as natural that there is collaboration across, unless there's specific projects that go across. So we're really working now on a culture and what that means, and what are these three values for us now. How can we see that people are doing their work according to our values and living up to our values? So we have planned a new event that we're having yearly. We're calling it Brain Summit, to kind of come together and really focus on core areas of who we are. And the first one will be on culture, to kind of bring everyone together around it. And from there, understanding, okay, so what culture should our area, our department have, and what does that look like as far as our micro cultures being a part of, and being proud of being a part of one ReMarkable, and knowing where we're going, and everyone's part in it. So it was really at that point now where we needed to really come together, and reinforce what it means to be part of this journey.
I had a question just going back to that kind of scaling, and you talked earlier about all the fires that are there, and it's something a lot of organizations experience. Everything feels urgent and everything's important. How do you specifically kind of tease out where you focus your efforts with a limited team? Have you got any tips and tactics for other people listening going, I've just got so many fires, I don't know which one to start with?
What we see is it's not necessarily the one that shouts the loudest, which is the most important, which is often the case, again, with coming from Lean Six Sigma. You really need to try to understand the numbers or the performance or whatever lies behind it. Obviously, for us, we don't really have a lot of things being measured, but what we've had from the beginning is our engagement surveys. So we had weekly in the beginning when there were not a lot of people. And then we now have monthly pulse surveys that we use to identify areas, which goes more also into the work that each department does. And then we have our yearly engagement survey where we get like the biggest chunk of information from, and that's kind of driving the planning of that year, and the areas that we identified as being important. And it also helps us in the communication on why are we not close or taking out some of the fires that for some people feels really important. So it's also important around the communication and explaining why we're choosing to do this over another area that's also urgent. So we use a lot of communication and direction in the work that we do to ensure that people know that we have plans for it, but we just haven't gotten there yet. And then with the close collaboration that we have with our people advisors, they're the people that are really close to what's going on in the organization and helps us guide where we need to focus and where we need to aim our efforts.
So one of the things you talked about was the values, and you talked about the importance of building. Many organizations have values, but when it really comes to it, what are the actual real values? And one value that really stood out for me from the three you shared dedicated, curious, and generous. Generous is really interesting. I've never seen that as a value. When you came up with generous as the value, what was the ambition for it, and how does it kind of manifest itself when it's people are actually living that in the field?
I think it's the value that I feel is the strongest and is the most important one that we have, and one that we are really now wanting to ensure that we keep having a focus on. It was the values were created as part of an employer branding work that was done. So it was really about talking to the people at that time. I think there were around 60, 70 about what it felt like working in ReMarkable. And from that was kind of like summed up into generous being one of the values. For me, it's really about some of the starting ways of working in ReMarkable. This was something new. No one had really done it before. None of the people involved in the beginning had done it before. So you had to have that generosity of helping each other out. It's like, I haven't done it before, but I'm sure we can figure it out. And if you know and understand a little bit better about what we should do, you're welcome to contribute in and help and support and be part of the solution. So it was a lot about the generosity of giving a helping hand. to someone who was working on something that we were trying to figure out, and everyone was in the same place. So there was no feeling of, I should know this, or I can't admit to that I don't know how to do this. So that
Which is a dangerous thing, isn't it?
yeah, and it's about also paying it forward, having that generosity around, which is also a motivation of doing something for others, and be able to know that someone else will do something for you when you're in a situation where you don't have all the answers. So I think in the beginning, being in that situation just created that foundation for having to be generous with each other. And there weren't many people, so if something was important, everyone had to join around it. So I think out of that, the generosity value grew, and that has become really part of like the values and the DNA and how we do things and how we treat people. That we are very open and generous, and people feel very included. It comes across in our engagement survey as well, that inclusion is a high score. People feel like they are part of this, even now that we are 500. So it is that collaboration and wanting to do something together and standing shoulder to shoulder and solving the big problems.
Yeah, and I guess it gets even more important as you get bigger, because people get brought in as an even more of a specialist role. You have like someone who's a specialist in tax in Romania, and you're like, and they, you know, that they're coming in for a specific thing, aren't they? And yet generous means support the network, support the community, pay it forward.
Yeah.
How do you keep that going and so vibrant?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's the one that we are looking into now, hence the need to look at the culture. What does this look like now that we are experts, leading experts a lot more? You're coming in and you have your subject matter area that you are responsible for. So I think it's a continuous involvement, and I think that's why it's so important. And I think that's why this is a place where values isn't just something that you present at like the yearly report or in some presentation where we want to tell the world who we are, but don't really feel it. So this has been part of the life in ReMarkable, and it's a fascinating place we're at now, defining what does generous mean now that we are a bigger company and we have experts in all areas, and we have companies in office in the UK and in the US. What does that look like, and how do we translate that maybe a bit more of a Norwegian way of doing things and involving everyone and being a bit more collaborative than in other cultures? I'll let you know once we've dug more into it.
We want you back anyway, Tanya.
Because it can be quite challenging, can't it, when you start as a small organisation and everybody's kind of got their fingers over everything and they're having to turn their hands to everything, and then suddenly you've got experts and people need to step back and go, actually, I'm not gonna get involved in that anymore because that's not my area of expertise. That can be quite challenging for people to make that shift from being everywhere
it's
and in
hard
everything.
It has been really a collaboration, or where it's quite open to people having opinions on what you do. Like if I'm working on something, in the beginning, I found it a little bit challenging that people would comment into my documents on, maybe you should do this, and maybe I'm like, oh. This is my work. And I was like, oh, it's coming from a good place, and everyone just wants this to be better. But it is it's a different way of opening up for feedback and collaboration, which is, I think, now what has worked now that we're bigger, and to understand how to give that, like still be open for the engagement of others, using the language around, I'm on 20%, I need 20% level feedback versus I'm at 90%. So I just need you to kind of like, is this the final touch on it? But you can give me very different feedback when I'm on 20. Then you can come with the ideas of, have you thought about this? Or maybe that's the direction. Or on 50, it's more, okay, the messaging here is where you should be, but have you thought about some other areas that are not taking you back to start or square one? So we've created a little bit more language around what type of input and help do we want in the work that we're doing, which I think it's helping framing this involvement a lot better, and you don't feel like someone's giving you an idea of direction when you're actually just asking about is there any spelling check.
Yeah,
So
you
good.
can see Danny and I have just written that down. That's
That's
sensibility.
genius.
But you touched on a really important there, because it's just the very simple thought process that you went through there. And this is where often where organizations fall down, isn't it? Which is misreading someone's intent. So it's very easy when someone is in your area and domain, and we often feel sometimes a little protective, maybe we feel a little bit insecure, or maybe we're just finding our way. Whatever it is, it's different for every person, but it's how we make sense of someone's actions really matters, doesn't it? If you've got the culture right, then people will see it with good intent, and then there's things like Hanlon's raised where you see negativity in other people's actions, and that's where the walls start to come up, isn't it? So that's why you can never stop working on the culture, can you?
We've had someone coming in to talk to us about friendly friction, which is also so important in a company that needs to be, not just for the product, but the whole company needs to innovate and think new and change quite a lot. The most consistent here is change. Things are changing all the time. So be able to have that friendly friction and understanding that we are challenging each other because we want to do better. We are always striving to do better. And it's because we want everyone to be better and grow and develop. But takes friction for kind of like the sparks and the energy to create movement. And I think that is something that we managed quite well, to have the ways of communicating and sharing. And we have a lot of focus on sharing what we're doing across the whole company, and anyone can give input. We had a sustainability night the other day where they showed us what they're doing on sustainability, and if you have any ideas, if you have any thoughts, just come, just let us know. So anyone can come and suggest something or ask something, and it's really shared openly so that we get that energy and that movement forward.
Hi, we're just pausing this interview for a moment. Have you ever finished an episode of the OrgDev podcast and wish you had a cheat sheet that summarises all of the key points? Us too, so we made one. It's called From Pod to Practice, and each week in our newsletter we'll share a 2-page summary of the latest OrgDev episode, and it includes key takeaways, a reflection prompt, and one small action you can try.
And it's all in a digital format with space at the end to add your own notes and reflections, and it's designed to help you take the learning from the podcast into your day-to-day work. So to get your copy, just sign up to our Next Step to Better newsletter. The link's in the show notes, or you can visit our website at www.distinction.live to get the latest From Pod to Practice in your inbox. And let us know what you think. We'd love to get your feedback.
One question that we're dying to ask, because of, in the introduction, just so many interesting projects you've been involved in, and your international experience working in different cultures, even now with ReMarkable being a melting pot of different people coming together. What was your journey into organisation development like? What has been sort of the thread through this?
Growing up in a consulting environment in Accenture, being exposed to a lot of different industries and areas, I just loved learning about how things were working in different companies. So, and that made the move towards trying to understand organizations, and through Lean Six Sigma and that process improvement. And then it kind of grew more on, but how do people actually behave in these changes that we're doing, in the new processes and new ways of working? What's the motivation, and how can we tap into the potential of the people involved in this, which then led me to pursue coaching as a profession, and through that also getting to know companies that were in the startup area and wanted to make the most out of the resources they have, wanted to be really resourceful, how to do this better, how to build a company, how to get the people to do the right things as they were growing. And for me, that's kind of like the definition of organizational development, is that understanding the improvement of the organizational systems and structure, but also connecting it with the human potential and the human growth, and how to make that work and change and improve and just grow. So I think I was doing it for a while, but didn't really have the definition of it. And then when the opportunity came to kind of really merge my areas of the structural from consulting, the focus on coaching and human development, and the curiosity around how to build a company came together in this role in ReMarkable. It was just like, okay, now I know why I've been going around just doing all the fun bits, because it's actually coming together, and it is organization development as I see it, and as I practice it or try to do the changes here in ReMarkable.
And does organisation development look different in Norway versus other kind of areas of the world in your view?
That's a good question. I would think because Norway is a country where it's quite flat in the organization, I think we have different approach to how to discuss this with top management. I would think like the closeness that we have with the leaders and mainly the top leaders might give us more of an opportunity to be heard and be involved than in more hierarchical and a bit more maybe individualist countries.
And you've spent a lot of formative years at Accenture, which is a really fascinating organisation doing lots of fascinating projects around the world. Like no one watches the clock working at Accenture, do they? Like your days go quickly.
Yeah.
How has that sort of shaped your approach in terms of sort of how you work and how you approach work? And how was that when you started switching from being external to internal as well? Because that's quite a shift, isn't it?
I think for me, the biggest shift was when after working in Accenture for 12 years and just really loving it, I didn't really have any plans of doing anything else. I learned so much, and just a structure, the way of going in and understanding a new business by asking questions and applying methods together with teams that are really good at what they do. I think the shift I had when I was going into coaching was all of a sudden I wasn't expected to have the answers. I had to start asking a lot more questions, and I couldn't just come into a coaching session with a client and tell him what to do. Like I had some degree done with companies, and then understanding the importance of the asking questions. So coming into this role, bringing in like the good structured way of thinking, analytical, understanding a business, understanding how everything works together with the setup in a company, together with the coaching mindset of asking questions on not just the personal level, but to open up to asking questions on why do we do things like this in other areas as well. That helps when coming across to a in-house role.
And you had your own sort of coaching practice that kind of sort of specialised in sort of more of a holistic approach in energy. How's that informed your practice?
Being a coach, like I said, it really understands the importance of seeing people and understanding that we have different ways of doing things. We have the different strengths that we bring into the work that we do, and that the opportunity for people to develop is so important. So coming into this role with the way that we work, creating both the understanding and the space for my team to know their strength and use their strength, and knowing that I will challenge them, I will ask them questions, I will guide them. But if they have a way that they think is the right way, we would have a bit of this friendly friction, and then agree on, okay, well, this is the right way to go forward, and I'll support that, but we will kind of get to that through this interaction of being able to be completely honest and open, and have that safety that we can disagree, but then challenge each other so it's not agree to disagree. It's like we disagree, but we commit. So we can't say afterwards, well, oh, I knew that was going to fail. Just because I just had to agree to disagree. So it's more now that, okay, we disagree, we challenge each other, but now this is what we're doing, so we're all committing to it and moving forward.
I have a professionally burning question I have to ask. Obviously, we mentioned the fact that you have been involved in holacracy and you have kind of rolled it out. A lot of the people watching this will be curious about new ways of working, but they may not have come across holacracy, which is a really defined way of working, but often misunderstood. How did you get involved in that? And what is holacracy? I'm going to give you 4 questions at the same time here. What is holacracy?
Yeah.
How on earth did you get involved in it? And what was it
Mhm.
like to actually implement it?
I really fell in love with the Reinventing Organization book by Frederick and
Laloux.
yeah,
Frederick Laloux.
my
Yeah.
French is terrible. And it was just like it was one of those defining moments, realizing you can talk about purpose, bringing your whole self, like using love in a language around something that had to do with business. For me, it was just like mind blowing, coming from a space where you don't talk about feelings, or you can't say, I feel like this is what we should do. It's like, no, you can't say that. Like, I know this is what we should do. So it was such a, like, I needed to do something with all of this. And that's when, in the work that I did in 50 Degrees North, a tour operating company based in Australia, but with offices in Norway and in Canada at that point. They'd grown a lot, needed to put some structure in place, and I had a great boss who was willing to try out new things and was very open to it. And I think the most important thing was he was willing to step aside and let the organization set this way of working, which in a way is not having managers. It's about creating teams, fluid teams, based on your both the role that you have, but also other things that you bring into to work. So there was a company at that point where we were 35, so it wasn't a big company, but we then talked to everyone and figured out some were very interested in writing, but were maybe working with accounting, or someone was really good at taking pictures, but were working more on the customer service side. So we managed to see, okay, maybe then you should have a role in the marketing group too. I'm doing this because it's all bubbles. It's not like boxes or structures. It's all bubbles, where you kind of fluidly evolve, and it fit this organization quite well because they were growing quite a lot, but were not very strategic in their growth. As of, we're growing a bit here, and then we see we need to grow a bit here. So this fluidity of these bubbles in the teams works really well. So by that, you could have like a role in the marketing team, and then you have a role in the sales team, and then you have a very good structure around how does a team work together, because it's not just about remove the managers and have fun and just it's quite structured around how the teams work.
There's a lot of governance, isn't there, around it? Like how meetings are done, how, the structure, the process that you follow, where decisions are made within the organization and how they're made and all that kind of stuff as well. It's quite clear, isn't it, how it should be done?
Yeah, and that was very important, like spending time on understanding the governance of it, and how you would be able to use these structures in a way that didn't eliminate just taking away the manager, but it gave opportunities to people who maybe didn't naturally want to be a manager, but have, like, some people are leaders just in the way that they are, and that they got an opportunity then to step up and show their value in a different way. So it was a lot of fun setting it up and identifying it and structuring it. And then I said, like, it had to be that the CEO had to say, like, I step away from being a CEO. I'm going to be part of the bubble system and have roles. I'm really good at the product development, so I'll be part of this. So if he hadn't had that, not being driven by his ego, being able to step away from his ego and letting this form or take form, I don't think it would have been successful. And I know they've had some challenges with it, and I left after we implemented it. And it takes dedication for it to work, but I think it's there's some really good thoughts behind it.
Yeah, because again, it's a lot of it's like a shift in mindset, isn't it? Because it's like, the traditional career ladder disappears, doesn't it? And you grow in your role, don't you? And add more variety and specialize or whatever it is that you do. And that really has to be clear with people during the recruitment process, isn't it? Because you have to attract a certain type of person.
Yes. Yeah, because everyone wants freedom, but no one wants responsibility, if you put it like very blunt. Because everyone thinks
I'll write
that's
that down.
great. Yeah.
True.
Because everyone thinks it's great. Yeah, I don't have a boss. I can do whatever. But it requires a lot more from you. The self-management, the understanding of who I am and what am I good at and how do I use that out into the organization and how do I lift the team as I'm part of it. Yeah, not everyone would fit into that. So it's important, as you said, knowing what you get yourself into.
Yeah, so you do lots of things. Which bits of your role do you really enjoy most? Which bits really kind of spark joy with you?
I love being with my team. I love developing my team. I love being able to find a way for them to do what they want to do and grow in their areas. And I think that's the coaching part of me. That's like I get a kick out of personal and professional development. And I love when we are able to work together on projects because oftentimes we're a small team and we have a lot that we want to do. So oftentimes we would work a bit separate, where I have one who's working on career development framework and another who's working on leadership development. But when we come together and work on something where we can bring all our strengths together, that's when the magic happens, and that's the fun of it.
When you do have organizations that grow that quickly, remarkable things happen to the people that are there, don't they? Because in a way you don't necessarily have the vision of how much your role is going to grow and how much responsibility. It must be quite a really nice thing to sort of take a step back and see how much the team have grown and the different challenges they've taken on, and they become an asset to the organization because they know how things work, don't they, as well?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in the beginning, and I mean, still, we hire people with the potential to be part of something and having that motivation to want to build something together with others, obviously with the right skills and the background. But it was more about we can't promise that what we wrote in the job description will be exactly what you're going to do. That's something strange. So you need to be aware of that. But then on the flip side, you would have then people coming in and having great ideas or finding areas where they would go like, why don't we work on this? Because here I see an opportunity and I can use and then being in a new organization, there's not a lot of legacy and it's not a lot of this is how we've always done things. It's like, good, great idea. Maybe we should do that. Run with it. Come and tell me how you're going to do it. Let's make sure that we get the right buying and we get obviously for us, it's a lot to do with getting the CEO and the right stakeholders in place because it affects the whole organization. And then it creates a lot of opportunities for people to kind of go, oh, I came up with this and I delivered on it. I made it happen and I can do it again. So I think that's the beauty of like it's hard sometimes to maybe get to that starting point, but then you can really run with it.
I've got a bonus question for you. You can opt in or opt out of this one. You've got such an interesting background, Six Sigma, implementation, mergers, obviously a lot of coaching and that as well. But you are in a more strategic role now, so you are a little bit further away from the tools. But are there any tools or methods you just really enjoy using that you just like, yeah, that's my go-to tool? I don't use it for everything, but when I do, I really enjoy it.
I mean, it's a lot of the basic around just the organization design star, using that more of a communication, because sometimes it's hard to communicate the importance of the work that we do, particularly how it goes out into the organization of the changes. Okay, we want to do a change in the structure. Yes, but we have to look at the people practices and the processes and the rewards and how does this link with our capabilities. Oh, okay, I thought we were just moving boxes. No, it's kind of like if we do that, we will skew the star and we have to align everything again. So we've used that quite a lot, just more in the explanation out into the organization or to the top level of why it is important that we spend time on looking at more than just one part of it.
And when you say style model, do you mean, is it the Galbraith model, is
Yeah,
it? Or
yes.
great.
Yeah, thank you for precising. So I think that's one of the things that we've used quite a lot. And then we use quite a lot of design thinking and facilitation in the work that we do, just to get everyone together and working very efficiently on that. And then we have this tool that we use for team building, which is also important for us, being first the matrix organization and now with the different departments to work together, which is a tool that's developed by the school that I went to in Norway. And it's free online, and it's called Start Smart, which is a really good tool. And it's in English if anyone wants to go and have a look at it. So NHH is the school, and the tool is Start Smart. And it really just gives you everything you need. And it's such an easy way to have good conversations in teams. I'm so surprised of how many teams do not have clear purpose. Why are we a team? And what's the different roles? Which is like the most basic things you would think everyone has in place, but tends to be forgotten. And this is a great tool to really get people talking about the team and how we're going to work together, which is very practical and hands-on. So we use that in our teams and has rolled it out into the company.
Brilliant. I think everyone watching this will be incredibly grateful that I asked that question, because there's some really lovely things. And, things like Galbraith, even if you don't use it, is a really good way of making sense of what is going on, because sometimes we just need to label or categorize things, don't we, to help give an account of what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what we do is really just how we communicate. Like I said, with this 20, 50, 90 around the feedback, the communications, the words that we use, how we make the importance of what we do more clear, because I think sometimes we get lost a little bit. And I think that's something that I had to learn as well, putting the consultant language to the side and just speaking straight, like being very clear. This is what we need and this is what we do it in, and just get going on it. That was a good lesson.
So this is a fairly big question, but if you look back at your career so far, what's the biggest lesson you've learned so far that you take with you?
I think it's really meeting people or organization where they're at, and by being curious and wanting to understand, and not having that pride or ego of I'm the expert to come in or I should show them that I know what I'm talking about, but really going in, trying to understand where they're at and starting from there, building things from there, even if I maybe wanted to create a huge culture project when I arrived 5 years ago, and that didn't happen because we weren't ready. And now it is, because now we've started to sow seeds on why we need to work on this and why it's important, because we weren't ready. We had to do things where we were at that point, and now we're at a different point. So now we can work on things that are important for us here and now. So yeah, just meeting both the organization and people where they're at.
And you've had a career of constantly expanding your skills and putting yourself into new and challenging situations. Obviously, now you're in an organization where growth is all consuming. Do you still find time to invest in your own learning and development? And if so, what kind of things do you do?
I love reading. My Kindle is packed with all different books on behavioral science and a lot of self-development as well. And I try to be up to speed on everything that's new that's happening. We have actually monthly sessions here in ReMarkable that we call Rethink, that we bring in new thinkers on areas that are close to our heart, on brain friendly devices and this friendly friction. And so I get it through work because we need to stay at the forefront. But I love taking courses online and try to stay up to date on everything that's going on as much as I can.
And you said you love to read. Bonus question, you cannot answer this. Is there a particular book or podcast or something that sticks with you as kind of been kind of really important in your career?
Yeah, besides the Reinventing Organization, which is my favorite, and we even they have like a comic type book of it that we brought to the organization, and everyone had a read through. And I love the Brené Brown books. Dare to Lead is a good book that I reread from time to time. And I think there was a book that was good as a way to understand, given that we work very closely with HR and it's kind of intertwined with strategic HR, our area. There was a book called Redefining HR by Lars Schmidt, which was a really good book for me as a non-HR background to really understand and bring that into the work that we do together with HR that reaches out into the organization, that I've gone back to several times.
And then last question from us, and we ask all of our guests the same question, because there's a lot of people watching this that are just taking their first steps into organization development, or they're frustrated with how things are in their organization. They're looking for another way. What advice would you give to someone who's just at the beginning of their career or considering a career in organization development?
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of ways and a lot of different needs in this area. Being able to understand both an organization and the people in it. There are opportunities to work together across the different departments, I think, to understand how people, or what the needs that they have, and how the organization works. But I think trying to get some specific knowledge on identifying the problem that you're trying to solve, and not just delivering on tool or a structure. I think in this area, you might get frustrated because you're just being told, we need a career and development framework, just fix it. But actually being able to ask, why do we need that? What is that we're trying to solve for? And how can what we're trying to solve for, how can I be part of identifying it and helping you understand that this is what you need to have in place, and learning more maybe about problem, like structure, how you structure a problem, and how you set up like a project charter, just like being very clear on what's the scope that we're doing and what's the actual problem in this and what's out of scope, and just a little bit, not necessarily knowing how to run a project as a project manager, but knowing at least how to set up the beginning, and having some tools to be able to identify the boundaries around what you're asked to do would be a good help to make this work a lot more fun and interesting, and being able to learn more about the organization you're in than just providing them with a tool or a method or something that they're needing in the organization.
I love that. I think sometimes it can be frustrating for people that are just dying to get in. Well, how do I get into this organization development thing? But if you look around, your organization is a laboratory with an infinite number of experiments that you can run to actually get organization development run. And organization development is a lot about doing the reps, isn't it? Like the first time you do the exercise or try and facilitate something is so different when you've done it like 10 or 20 times as well, isn't it? So it is just getting out and doing it and giving yourself permission and to ask the question, because the world is full of unloved career frameworks and behavior frameworks that just
yeah in a drawer somewhere. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Tanya, I just want to say a huge thank you. This conversation is just the reason why Danny and I have given so much time to breathe in life into this podcast, because it's just defined everything that we're trying to do with it, which is someone who is actually out in the field, creating change, implementing organization development in an uncertain environment, but learning so much, but also most importantly, just so generous with your experience and your insights as well. So it's been, for me, I can't talk for you, Danny, but it's been a brilliant conversation.
It has an absolute brilliant conversation. People are going to get so much. I think you've just brought to life what OD is in practice in day-to-day life. So thank you. I think, some of the highlights, I think obviously the feedback, I think that idea of telling people where you are in terms of percentage done is just a really lovely way of guiding, saying I'm
Genius.
90% done. We're not going back to first principles. Love that. So I can see people wanting to adopt that. The idea of the importance of friendly friction. And I think the point you made about being really intentional about collaboration as you're scaling and kind of recognizing you are putting functions in place, and you do need to be intentional about how you bridge that gap, and kind of, if you can't just leave it and hope it works itself out, you have to be intentional. So
yeah, and I think for me, like all of those things, I think we've shared is intensely practical, which I think people get loads of value from it. And some of the things I really love as well is you talked about micro cultures versus subcultures. That's okay. That's okay. You know, diversity is great, but it's obviously making sure that there's an overarching culture. And that's where, you know, thinking about values like generous, but you can't leave it at that. You've got to keep doing the culture work as well, and how you're still doing that as you've grown exponentially as well. So it's been brilliant. I've loved it. It's been great. What a great way to spend a Friday morning.
indeed.
Tanya, if people want to follow your work, or if they just want to sort of, you know, just because the remarkable journey is remarkable, isn't it? What's the best way for people to do that?
Well, we're a bit like, we don't really share a lot. So when I had to ask for permission to do this podcast as well. So we don't really broadcast a lot around what we do as internal in the company. So the only place you can find me is on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Well, we'll keep up to date with your posts and everything that goes with it as well. So thank you so much, Tanya. You're intensely busy, so we've taken so much of your time, but I know that the community will really appreciate that. So thank you.
I'm so happy we were able to make this happen. And it was a very pleasant, a bit nerve-wracking experience, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just have to say, and I love the work that you do. It was really helpful for me as well, listening to the podcast and just and really being okay with OrgDev is so many things. And because I was thinking, like, am I doing this right? And I was like, is there a right? Because this is how we have to do it in our organization. I don't think we can ever do it textbook right for us. So it was a relief listening to your podcast and reading the stuff that you're doing, going, okay, it's actually, it's okay. It's good enough, the work that we do.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. We're on episode 67 as we're recording this, and that's 67 conversations with OD practitioners around the world, and there is no one way. So, which is kind of relieving, but also, it was my 5-step process. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Tanya. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely Friday.
Thank you.